The sequel follows. How do you realize the dishonesty of the battle if you realize it like I do? Friends, I'm going to be a candidate for president of Russia. My name is Alexander Suslov. I want to make all Russians the richest people in the world. Support me. That is, we began to understand the basics of artificial intelligence and how to build it. And others don't have any. They call artificial intelligence. That's why I gave examples about the black hole, stuff that calls and then tries to go to it that it's all right. But that's just tangential. It's just for sales, call it intelligence to get money from investors. And then they just start thinking about how to make it. There's a neural network after all, isn't there? Well, in what form? It's just the regular internet in that case, right? You get it. No. There's a special architecture called a neural network. I can show you in a picture how to tell. The first neural network that showed signs that something could be done with it was the perceptron. It was about 43 to 45 years old, a long time ago. 70 years, count them, for simplicity's sake. 70 to 80 years old. And the scientists took this thing. And they started punching them in the face and forced them to perform some functions. Which is great, well done to them, they got some result. You mean when they did something on some worms there or insects or something like that, right? Or what? I don't know. If they took the insects and made them perform what is required there. And it's actually such a primitive neural network that it's, well, a worm is probably a genius compared to it. At the same time, scientists taught this neural network to act, did a lot of preliminary operations, preparation of information. Lots of things are being done, I'll tell you later if you're interested. Very interesting. And the system started to show some results. Well done, yeah, my hat is so off to you that, you know. When math there as low as the lowest, there was a lot of math there. There was the next wave of simplification of this math, generalization and so on. That's where it went into math. Well, it works, though. These are the GPT chat rooms. They actually took a neural network, called it a genius, something like that. It doesn't actually do shit. But the whole system, they started using it. Well done, too. Speaking of which, Sam Altman, he's the head of OpenAI, that they themselves didn't expect it to be able to do anything. Yes. Well, the stats started to work. But GPT is an algorithm, it has nothing to do with neural networks. No, they're training an enormously sized neural network. Trained how? Take articles, books, texts, take, let's say, a few words as input, next word output. So that the neural network predicts the next word. That's what they get. Let's say there were 3 input words, a 4th input. They now take all 4 as input, the 5th output. And got a huge massive amount of information that needs to be trained to a neural network. And she actually started doing statistics. If the new words are so and so, the next one should be something like this. And it gives the odds. It's just a probability big data with statistical algorithms and that's it. Which is to say, what does this have to do with? That's exactly the statistic. But it's not artificial intelligence or a neural network. It's also just information processing, so to speak. Yes, that's exactly the statistic. But if they block the neural network, like with all this. The thing is, for a statistician to create programmed in a programmed way all this work, it's quite difficult, extremely difficult. And here without programming anything, take 3 words input, 4th output, take 4 words input, 5th output, everything. And this is the kind of package that was taught. Why is it taking so long for the next versions to come out? They have a training period of 3 to 6 months. Huge amounts of information, long learning curve, that's what we're hitting on, what we can do much faster. It's to overcome the Turing test, isn't it? Or just so she doesn't say something stupid. They did a beautiful trick, you know, an inventive trick. They determined, here in the first GPTs, even the ones that Elon Musk created, this is the kind of shit that we didn't believe anything would happen with it next. What did they do? Here's the next word that should appear. Let's say some 3 words have already been done, the next word that should appear. When done exactly according to the stats, you get a complete flop like in the US, triviality. What did they do? They looked up that statistically this word should appear first, this word first, that word first. They decided, let's not take the first word that should appear. And there's a 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Tried it, it turned out to work, which is like some kind of intelligence. Frankly, they're freaking out. But at the same time, that's how this deputy works now. He instead of substituting 100% for the next word, they substitute the next word, which is not 100%, but there's less, 80-70%, and so on. And it turns out to be kind of a non-trivial statement. Well, I see. Here you go. Yes. Well, J. Peter, we just have legislation already written for artificial intelligence in the RF. And how they're going to explain it all is difficult, very unclear. That is, if the people start, it's just realizing it, and it's already trickling in. And I was told, by the way, from New York about this, that there is nothing, that everything is just a sham. I've been immersed in it, I've been blown away just in general. It's just a desire to get money from investors. They make some promises, and then you have to make the next promise under those promises, because there has to be some progress. And they're so full of shit that this house of cards is just starting to come down, and they're still lying. So it's already crumbling at the bottom, and they're still building at the top. That's the picture I got. And they're all waiting to see if maybe someone somewhere will break through, find a solution that can be applied. There's still time. Is also very important. Okay, it's about artificial intelligence, which doesn't exist yet, but someday it will. To begin to understand how to create it. But only if in the form of some kind of cyborg, that is, when half from some animal, half from a computer. I mean, here's if, we need to allow this one to be artificial. Things that work, so they can. Intelligence, as I understand it, is when a person can something new. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Something to do, some new thought, some invention there. Now that's intelligence. Federal Law of April 24, 2020 N 123 FC on conducting an experiment to establish special regulation to create the necessary conditions for the development and implementation of artificial intelligence technologies in a constituent entity of the Russian Federation. Artificial intelligence is a set of technological solutions. At least for the results of human intellectual activity. Thank you. Universe 25C. At this point, about 600 mice were already living in the tank. A hierarchy and semblance of social life was formed. There's less space. A category of outcasts emerged and were banished to the center of the tank. They were often victims of aggression. The outcast group could be distinguished by their artificial tails, torn hair, and traces of blood on their bodies. The outcasts consisted primarily of young individuals who had not found social roles for themselves in the mouse hierarchy. The problem of lack of suitable social roles was caused by the fact that under ideal tank conditions, the mice lived for a long time. Aging mice didn't make room for young rodents. Therefore, frequent aggression was directed at new generations of individuals born in the tank. After expulsion, males broke down psychologically, showed less aggression, and were unwilling to protect their pregnant females or fulfill any social roles. Though occasionally they would attack either other individuals from the outcast society or any other mice. Females preparing to give birth became increasingly nervous, as the increased passivity among males made them less protected from random attacks. As a result, females became aggressive, often fighting to protect their offspring. However, the aggression was paradoxically not directed only at those around them. No less aggression was shown towards their children. Often females would kill their cubs and move to upper nests, becoming aggressive hermits and refusing to breed. As a result, fertility has dropped significantly, and mortality of young animals has reached significant levels. Soon the last stage of the mouse paradise's existence began. Stage D, or the death phase, as Joe Calhoun called it. This stage was symbolized by the emergence of a new category of mice called beautiful mice. These included males exhibiting behavior uncharacteristic of the species, refusing to fight and competing for females in territory. Who show no desire to mate, who tend to live a passive lifestyle. The beautiful ones only ate, drank, slept and cleaned their skins, avoiding conflict in any social functions. No, Mikulich, it's not a holiday. They received such a name because, unlike most of the other inhabitants of Bach, their bodies bore no marks of brutal battles, no scars or torn out fur. Their narcissism have become legendary. The researcher was also struck by the beautiful ones' lack of desire to mate and reproduce. We didn't get in, we touched down. Here's the old guard. Here's the old ones, they crash. Among the latest wave of tank births, beautiful and single males, who refuse to breed and flee to the upper nests of the tank, have become the majority. As a result, the average age of the mice increased. Mortality of young animals increased to 100%, the number of pregnancies dropped to 0. The endangered mice practiced homosexuality, deviant and inexplicably aggressive behavior, in the midst of a surplus of vital resources. Cannibalism flourished with a simultaneous abundance of food. The females refused to raise the cubs and killed them. The mice were rapidly dying out. On the 1780th day after the experiment began, the last inhabitant of the mouse paradise died. Anticipating such a development, Calhoun tried to avoid such an outcome. Several small groups of mice were removed from the tank and relocated to equally ideal conditions, but also under conditions of minimal population and unrestricted free space. No boredom or interspecies aggression. In essence, beautiful and single female mice were created under conditions where the first 4 pairs of mice in the tank would exponentially reproduce and create a social structure. But to the surprise of the scientists, the beautiful and solitary females did not change their behavior. They refused to mate, reproduce and perform social functions related to reproduction. Eventually there were no new pregnancies, and the mice died of old age. Similar and identical results were observed in all resettled groups. In the end, all of the test mice died while under ideal conditions. Needless to say, John Calhoun invariably chose rodents as his subjects, although the ultimate goal of his research has always been to predict the future for human society. In 1972, renowned American scientist a hierarchy and semblance of social life was formed. There's less space. A category of outcasts emerged and were banished to the center of the tank. They were often victims of aggression. The outcast group could be distinguished by their artificial tails, torn hair, and traces of blood on their bodies. The outcasts consisted primarily of young individuals who had not found social roles for themselves in the mouse hierarchy. The problem of lack of suitable social roles was caused by the fact that under ideal tank conditions, the mice lived for a long time. Aging mice didn't make room for young rodents. Therefore, aggression was often directed at new generations of individuals born in the tank. Needless to say, John Calhoun invariably chose rodents as his test subjects. Although the ultimate goal of research has always been to predict the future for human society,